back here with Bruce Fenton. I'm Jack Lemandy with the fake radio voice yet again. We're going to talk Obamacare. I don't like Obama. I didn't vote for him. I didn't buy into all the hope and change and all that BS that everyone did. Let me just get that as a disclaimer. I think he's the worst president we've ever had. That aside, Obamacare. Bruce, try to sell me on it. Please.
You want me to sell you on Obamacare?
Yeah, I figured that would be the best way
Ooh, that's going to be tough. All right, so...
No, sell me on... Take that stand. Like, I know what you believe in.
I'm not a fan of Obamacare.
Right. So why would you... Why? You're an intelligent guy. How could you sell me on it?
That's a tough one. So, the argument...
Then why has it been passed? Why?
It's well-meaning people. Good people who are well-meaning people who haven't thought it through. I really believe that. I think they just haven't thought it through. It is a terrible thing when
hope and
people
change. Sorry, I had to say hope and change.
When people have no health care, it's bad.
Yes.
Okay? That's a horrible thing. There's all kinds of sad stories about people without health care. And that's a bad thing. So well-meaning people, in an effort to change this, pushed for Obamacare. I heard it said before that any bad piece of legislation has two things. It has special interests and well-meaning do-gooders. And the well-meaning do-gooders end up unknowingly helping the special interests to get it through. And that's exactly what happened with Obamacare. What they should call the Affordable Care Act, they should call the Let's Give Bonuses to All the Companies Causing the Trouble Act. Mm-hmm. You ever see the movie Sicko? If you see the movie Sicko from Michael Moore,
yes, Michael Moore.
You come out of that saying, wow.
Is he fat? But
no,
besides that,
I like Michael Moore.
Okay.
Don't pick on him. He's a good guy.
Okay.
We agree on the problems. We just don't agree on the solutions. I would love to talk to Michael Moore and show him that his way is a way of violence. All the things that he's been fighting against his whole life, he's supporting because he is pushing for more corporatism and bigger government. He doesn't even know it.
Right. So I think he's full of crap.
You want proof?
Go ahead. And everything's done in the editing room by him. In my opinion, on Michael Moore.
All right.
All right, and I just see him there with like just hot dogs and mustards all over his shirt and stuff like that. That's how I picture Michael Moore.
I like him. I think
in a Michigan State.
I think he's a good guy. I think he's a good patriot.
All right, so we disagree on that. That's fine.
I like him. I think he's a good patriot. I think he's a good guy.
Back in Flint, Michigan. Okay.
But I do disagree with his idea of solutions.
Okay.
We agree on the problems
because he's a filmmaker.
Well, yeah.
Okay. I mean,
he hasn't thought these things through. But his heart's in the right place.
His heart.
He doesn't like Wall Street bailouts.
Right above his stomach.
But then he goes and supports big government who does things like Wall Street bailouts.
Right.
He's a peaceful guy. But he supports violence through things like the Affordable Care Act, which is ultimately enforced by violence. If you don't comply and you rip it up and you say what Rosa Parks said, you say, I refuse, someday somebody's going to come to your house with a gun.
Right.
That's violent. He doesn't support violence overseas, yet he keeps pushing for, he's a big cheerleader for President Obama, who's one of the most violent presidents ever. And I'm with him in criticizing George Bush, but where I feel let down by Michael Moore is that he's not consistent about it. He wasn't as consistent in criticizing President Obama when Obama did the Patriot Act and the wars and the aggression and all of the same things, drone bombings and that kind of stuff. So he's right on the problem, wrong on the solution.
Okay. Still though, like for Obamacare, what about the people that can't afford health care? What do you think of that?
The world is a hard place. The problem is it's not a fantasy land where we say, okay, we can fix these things just by making it happen and it's free. There's nothing free.
I know. We're screwed financially.
It's taken by someone else. And these countries there's two things you can look at the movie Sicko where you can learn a lot. One, take every single company in there Michael Moore complained about. If you put them in a portfolio, you would have outperformed the stock market by a huge margin. All those companies in general have gone up. A lot of them have been taken over. Look at the executive pay. They were already getting paid huge amounts of money. They're getting paid even more because of the passage of the ACA. Who do you think wrote it? What is it, 8,000 pages? Who wrote that? Michael Moore didn't write it.
No.
My doctor didn't write it. Did your doctor write it?
No, he didn't.
Did you write it?
I didn't write it, no.
Did some senator or congressman sit down and, I'm going to take a break from the campaign trail and write it?
No.
You know who wrote it?
Who wrote it?
The same healthcare executives Michael Moore complained about. These people wrote it, and then they pushed it through would have gone through probably, whether it's Republicans or Democrats. They push it through to enrich themselves at the expense of the American people.
Well, how come no one knows that?
But some people know it. You got to pay attention. Follow the money. Look at the money. You say, oh, it's $400 billion for healthcare, $800 billion, whatever. It's not like they give the money to Michael Moore and say, okay, Michael, go save healthcare. That would actually be an infinitely better use of it, because he, at least, like I said, has his heart in the right place. He would at least try. He'd set up some clinics, and you'd get something other than for show. You'd get something that actually would probably do some good. It's still a bad idea, because it's still not fair to take by force from other people to try and do good. If something is truly good, you don't need to do it by force. But at least it would be better than what they have now, which is 99% scam. It's taking money from the American people, putting in the pockets of these companies and executives, and then they have a tiny, tiny piece which is just for show, where they do a few clinics and things like that just to say, look, see, it works. So that's the thing with Obamacare. You gotta follow the money with any of these laws. You gotta think it through and really look at what happens and ask yourself questions about what kind of force is really worth implementing to try and get somebody else to do something you want.
All right, thanks, Bruce.